Imagine this. You are 22 years old. You are standing on a stage in a cap and gown. There are 800 people in the auditorium, every seat filled. Parents, grandparents, friends, professors, everyone who came to celebrate. Your name is called. You walk across that stage, you shake the dean's hand, you receive your diploma. This moment you have worked 4 years for. The applause begins. And then your father stands up. In the middle of that auditorium, in front of 800 people, he raises his hand and he says 3 words loud enough for everyone to hear. Don't clap for her. The room goes silent. Every single person stops clapping. Confused, uncomfortable, frozen. You stand there, holding your diploma, exposed under the lights, feeling like the floor is opening beneath you. That was my graduation day. My name is Natalie, I am 25 years old, and 3 years ago, my father tried to destroy the proudest moment of my life in front of everyone I had ever known. But what he didn't know, what he couldn't have known, was that the university had prepared something they were about to reveal on the massive screen behind me. And when that screen lit up, my father's face went from smug satisfaction to complete, utter, pale shock. Stay with me, because this story is about more than revenge. It's about the moment a parent realizes they don't know their child at all. My father's name is Richard Bennett, 55 years old, corporate attorney, 6-figure salary, country club member, the kind of man who measures success in titles and dollar amounts. He wanted a son. He got 3 daughters. My older sister, Caroline, learned early how to be what he wanted: quiet, compliant, married young to a man my father approved of, works a respectable but unambitious job. My younger sister, Beth, is still in high school and has perfected the art of being invisible. And then there's me, Natalie, the middle daughter who asked too many questions, had too many opinions, wanted things that didn't fit into my father's narrow definition of acceptable. From the time I was small, my father made it clear what he thought daughters were for. We were meant to be pretty, polite, married to successful men, and quiet about our own ambitions. When I was 8 years old, I told him I wanted to be a scientist. He patted my head and said, "That's cute, honey. Maybe you can be a science teacher." When I was 12, I won the regional science fair. My project was on renewable energy systems. The judges said it was college-level work. I was so proud. My father didn't come to the fair. He had a golf game. When I showed him my trophy at dinner, he glanced at it and said, "That's nice. Don't let this go to your head." When I was 16, I was accepted to a prestigious summer program at a university 3 states away, full scholarship. It was for gifted students interested in STEM fields. I would be studying advanced physics with actual professors. I was thrilled. This was everything I had dreamed of. My father said, no. Just no. No explanation, no discussion. I begged. I showed him the letter. I explained what an opportunity this was, how it could help me get into a good university, how I had earned this. He said, "You don't need that. You need to focus on being well-rounded. Get a summer job, make some money, be practical." I didn't go to the program. I worked that summer at a grocery store while my father played golf every Saturday. I never forgave him for that. When it came time to apply to colleges, I applied to engineering programs, top-tier schools, MIT, Stanford, Carnegie Mellon. I applied in secret. I used my guidance counselor's address for correspondence. I got into 3 of them, with scholarships. When I finally told my father, I was 18 and holding acceptance letters that represented everything I had worked for, he looked at the letters, He put them down on the table, and he said this: "Natalie, engineering is not for girls like you. You're going to the state school. You'll study something sensible, communications or education. You'll graduate, you'll get married, and that will be enough." I felt something break inside me that day. I said, "I'm going to MIT with or without your support." He laughed, a cold, dismissive laugh. He said, "Not with my money, you're not, and you don't have anyone else's." He was right. I didn't. The scholarships covered tuition, but not housing, not food, not books, not the 1,000 other expenses of living. I compromised. I went to the state school, but I didn't study communications. I studied engineering, mechanical engineering. I took out loans for everything my scholarships didn't cover. I worked 20 hours a week. I barely slept, and I never asked my father for a single dollar. For 4 years, he told anyone who would listen that I was wasting my time, that engineering would chew me up and spit me out, that I would drop out or switch majors or realize I wasn't cut out for it. He was wrong. I graduated summa cum laude, top of my class, 4.0 GPA, multiple job offers from major companies before I even walked across that stage. But my father didn't know any of that because I had stopped telling him anything about my life years ago. 6 weeks before graduation, I received an email from the dean of the College of Engineering. The subject line said, "Special recognition, please confirm attendance." I opened it. The email explained that every year, the university recognized one graduating engineering student for exceptional achievement, not just grades, but research, leadership, contribution to the field. This year, they were recognizing me. The email listed why: my GPA, my senior thesis on sustainable manufacturing processes that had been published in an academic journal, my volunteer work teaching engineering concepts to middle school girls, my leadership in the Women in STEM student organization. They asked if my family would be attending so they could make sure they had good seats for the presentation. I sat in my tiny apartment reading that email, and I cried. Not because I was happy, I was happy, but mostly I cried because I immediately thought, my father is going to ruin this. I knew him. I knew what he was going to do, that even if he showed up to graduation, even if he sat through the ceremony, he would find a way to diminish it, to make it small, to make me feel like my achievement was nothing compared to what I should have done. I almost declined the award. I almost wrote back and said, "Thank you, but I would prefer to graduate quietly without recognition." But then I thought, no, I earned this. I worked 4 years for this. I survived on 4 hours of sleep and instant ramen and the constant voice in my head that sounded like my father telling me I wasn't good enough. I earned this award, and I was going to accept it. I wrote back and confirmed. I told them my family would be there. I didn't mention that my family consisted of a father who didn't believe in me, a mother who had long ago stopped standing up to him, and 2 sisters who didn't know how to support me without angering him. The university asked if I wanted to prepare remarks. I said no. I couldn't trust myself to speak without crying or saying something I would regret. They said that was fine. The dean would speak. I would accept the award. It would be a brief, beautiful moment. I called my mother to tell her about graduation. I didn't mention the award. I just asked if they were coming. My mother said, "Of course, honey, we'll be there. Your father already requested the day off work." I didn't tell her what I expected him to do, what I knew in my bones he was going to do, but I prepared myself for it anyway. Graduation was on a Saturday in May. Beautiful weather, the kind of day that feels like a movie. 800 graduating students, thousands of families. The ceremony was held in the main auditorium, a massive space with balcony seating and a stage that felt like it stretched forever. I sat with my fellow engineering students in the third section of graduates. My family was somewhere in the crowd. I had seen them when I walked in. My father in a suit, arms crossed, looking at his phone. My mother next to him looking nervous. My sisters whispering to each other. The ceremony began. The president of the university spoke. A guest speaker talked about the future. We sang the school anthem. It was all standard graduation ritual. Then, the dean of my college stepped up to the microphone. She said, "Before we begin conferring degrees, I want to take a moment to recognize a truly exceptional student." My heart started pounding. She said, "Every year, we honor one graduating senior who has demonstrated not only academic excellence, but leadership, innovation, and commitment to lifting others as they climb." She started listing achievements: my GPA, my published research, my volunteer work, my leadership roles in the... I stood there on that stage, holding my award, feeling every eye in the room on me, feeling the heat of humiliation creeping up my neck. And then something happened that my father had not anticipated. The screen behind me changed. The university had prepared a video. I didn't know about it. They hadn't told me. Later, I learned that they prepare these videos for every award recipient, but they play them as a surprise during the ceremony. The screen that had been showing my photo and achievements went black for just a moment. Then, a video began playing. It opened with footage of me in the engineering lab, working on a project, completely focused, surrounded by equations on whiteboards. Then, a voiceover, one of my professors. He said, "In my 30 years of teaching, I have never had a student quite like Natalie Bennett. Her dedication, her curiosity, her absolute refusal to accept good enough when excellent was possible." The video cut to another professor, a woman I had taken 3 classes with. She said, "Natalie didn't just excel academically, she changed the culture of our program. When she arrived, only 18% of our engineering students were women. She started the Girls Who Engineer program and personally mentored 43 young women. Retention rates for women in our program have increased by 22% since Natalie's freshman year." The video showed me working with middle school girls, teaching them how to build simple circuits, their faces lighting up with understanding. Another cut, this time to students, my peers. One of them said, "Natalie could have coasted on her grades, but instead she spent hours every week in the tutoring center helping the rest of us survive thermodynamics." Another student, a young woman, said with tears in her eyes, "I almost dropped out freshman year. I thought I wasn't smart enough. Natalie told me I was exactly smart enough. She tutored me for free for an entire semester. I'm graduating today because of her." The video showed my research, clips of me presenting at a conference, professors nodding, taking notes, a caption on screen: "Research presented at the National Conference on Sustainable Manufacturing, youngest presenter in conference history." Then came letters, actual letters from the companies that had offered me jobs, read aloud by the dean's voiceover. SpaceX: "We are thrilled to offer Natalie a position on our advanced propulsion team." Tesla: "Natalie's innovative thinking makes her exactly the kind of engineer we need." Google: "We rarely see candidates with this combination of technical skill and leadership capability." The video showed me at my thesis defense, standing in front of a panel of professors, confident, knowledgeable, answering complex questions with ease. One of the panelists said in the video, "This is doctoral-level work from an undergraduate. Extraordinary." Then the video came back to the dean. She was speaking directly to the camera. She said, "Natalie Bennett represents everything we hope to cultivate in our students. Excellence, yes, but also integrity, generosity, and an absolute commitment to using her gifts to lift others. She is, without exaggeration, one of the finest students this university has ever graduated. The video ended. The screen showed my face again, and below it one final line. Natalie Bennett, engineer, leader, trailblazer, summa cum laude. The auditorium was still silent. Everyone had watched the video. Everyone had heard the testimonials. Everyone had seen the proof. And everyone was now looking at my father. He was still standing, but his hand had dropped. His face had changed. The smug confidence was gone. He looked pale, actually pale, like the blood had drained from his face. Because he had just tried to humiliate me in front of 800 people. And instead, 800 people had just watched a video showing them exactly who I was. And who I was everything he had told them I wasn't. The dean stepped back to the microphone. Her voice was steel. She said, Natalie Bennett is one of the most accomplished students in the history of this program, and on behalf of this university, I am honored to present her with the Dean's Award for Excellence in Engineering. Then she started clapping. Slow, deliberate, defiant. One by one, people joined her. First, the faculty on stage. Then the students in my section, then row by row, the entire auditorium. The applause built, louder, stronger. 800 people on their feet clapping not just for my award, but for me, for everything I had overcome to stand on that stage. My father sat down, heavily, like his legs had given out. My mother was crying. My sisters were staring at him with expressions I had never seen before. And I stood there, on that stage, holding my award, tears streaming down my face under the lights, feeling something I had never felt in my entire life when it came to my father. Free. Completely, utterly free. After the ceremony ended, after all the graduates had walked across the stage, after the caps had been thrown and the families had flooded out into the sunny afternoon, I stood with my fellow engineering students taking photos. My father approached me. I saw him coming from across the lawn. My mother and sisters were with him, but hanging back like they weren't sure if they should be part of this conversation. He walked up to me. His face was still pale. His hands were in his pockets. For a long moment, he just stood there. Then he said, I didn't know. I looked at him. I didn't help him. I didn't fill the silence. He said, all those things they said, the research, the awards, the job offers, I didn't know any of it. I know, I said. I didn't tell you. Why not? Because you made it very clear what you thought of my choices, so I stopped giving you the opportunity to diminish them. He flinched like I had slapped him. Natalie, No, Dad. I said it calmly, but firmly. You stood up in front of 800 people and told them not to clap for me. You told them I was lying. You tried to destroy this moment. Not because you had any evidence, but because you fundamentally do not believe I am capable of being who I actually am. He opened his mouth. I closed it. He looked at the ground. My mother stepped forward. She had tears streaming down her face. She said, Natalie, I am so sorry. I should have stood up to him years ago. I should have protected you. I should have told you how proud I was. I'm so sorry. I hugged my mother, and I forgave her in that moment, because I understood she had been living with him too. My sisters both hugged me and cried and told me I was amazing. Beth, my younger sister, whispered, You're my hero. My father stood apart from all of this, watching, processing. Finally, he said, What do I do now? I looked at him. I said, "You accept that you were wrong. You accept that your daughter is not who you decided she was when she was 8 years old, and you decide if you want to know who she actually is. Because that door is open, but only if you walk through it with respect." He nodded slowly. He said, "Those companies, the job offers, which one are you taking?" "SpaceX. I'm moving to California in 6 weeks." He nodded again. He said, "That's impressive." It was the first time in my entire life my father had said something I did was impressive without a qualifier after it. I didn't thank him for it. I just nodded. He said, "Can I take you to dinner tonight to celebrate?" I thought about it. Then I said, "Not tonight. Tonight I'm celebrating with my friends, the people who believed in me. But maybe next weekend we can talk." He agreed. I don't know if my father and I will ever have the relationship I wish we had, the one where a daughter is supported and celebrated by her father from the beginning, instead of having to earn his respect through undeniable public proof. But that day, on that graduation lawn, something shifted. He saw me, really saw me, for the first time in 22 years. And whether we build something from that or not is still being decided. But I know this. I don't need his approval anymore. I spent 4 years learning that the only approval that matters is my own. If you are listening to this and you have a parent who doesn't believe in you, who diminishes your achievements, who makes you